Welcome to the Coalition of Scrubs, and yes, that was all of our collective natural voices singing.
For those of you American people who watch ESPN for some reason, for some really weird reason, there's a movie starring Brad Pitt talking about the Athletics' good run while trying to rebuild their own team after getting stolen by the Yankees and everything else, called Moneyball. On that movie, there's a meeting there when they basically describe what is Yu-Gi-Oh! I will pull the clips right now.
What's the problem?
The problem is we have to replace 3 key players in our lineup.
What's the problem?
Same as it's ever been. We've got to replace these guys with what we have existing.
No, what's the problem, Barry?
We need 38 home runs, 120 RBIs, and 47 doubles to replace.
The problem we're trying to solve is that there are rich teams and there are poor teams. Then there's 50 feet of crap. And then there's us. It's an unfair game.
You need to have a little bit of faith and let us do the job of replacing Giambi.
Is there another first baseman like Giambi?
No, not really.
No.
And if there was, could we afford him?
No. Nope.
Then what the fuck are you talking about, man?
Tell me if I'm wrong, this is basically Yu-Gi-Oh! The problem is always how much do I want to spend really on this deck to make it functional. Hell, I even have like 4 to 5 decks at one point. How many of those were complete? None, because I didn't have any interest on finishing those decks. Now, there's people in the community, for example, Third World Yu-Gi-Oh! And King Scarlet, who give you recommendations about how to play this game more budget friendly or budget thinking on the budget that you're going to use. From one side, King Scarlet says that obviously it's not about investing a lot but investing intelligent, and Trevor Yu-Gi-Oh! Always brings his budget recommendations for every month. We are not here to talk about which card is the best in this format and how is up. No, I'm going to teach you right now how to identify the necessities that you need to cover or what you want to cover from a certain type of card that is expensive and you don't want to pay that much or you cannot play that much, but you kinda want to play that type of style of deck. So, shall we just jump right into it? I have considered 3 different stances of things that you may want to consider when playing on the budget. Now, obviously, this is not me telling you what you have to do. This is just me giving you my point of view on Yu-Gi-Oh! As an expensive game and how can you play it more intelligently. So we're going to start with this, Warning Point. Warning Point is a really great card. Awesome card, I really love this. It's a secret rare. That's a real problem. A secret rare from Phantom Rage. So the price is going to be around $50, I think, at least in USA. Probably around the same in euros for Europe. But for Mexico, which is where I live, it's at least 25 bucks basically. So okay, the first question that I have to answer is, do I really need the warning points? In my opinion, for the list that you're going to see about Burning Abyss, no, I don't really need warning points. Why? Because I can play another alternatives. If I want the monster effect negation, I can play Forbidden Chalice or Lost Wind. Obviously Lost Wind is easier because I can search it with Trap Trick, of course. So I don't really need to play Warning Point. And even if I needed the second part of the effect, of the cannot be used as a material for a fusion, synchro, exist or link, I can void my Burning Abyss deck to blindly go second and play no material if that's the case. If I really needed that part. I only play this because it's cool to have a monster negation and obviously a no material on the same card. Do I really need that no material part of the card? No, I only play the monster negation normally. And as a bonus I have a no material, but usually you just play this for the monster negation. So okay, I said I don't need warning points exactly, so I can just play the Lost Wind and call it a day. If your answer is yes, I need the warning points, then think carefully. If you want to play the warning points, how can you adjust your budget so you can buy your warning points and still play the same deck as always? I don't know, for example, you want also to play Ice Dragon Prison. You know, it's also on the same range, I think, 15 bucks. Okay, you have 6 cards that cost 15 bucks each. That's 90 bucks or $90 on 6 cards. If you don't want to spend $90 on 6 cards, really stop and consider which of the 2 cards, Warning Point or Ice Dragon's Prison, do I really care for the most? If I can spend $45 on only one of the playsets, do I keep the Warning Points or do I keep the Ice Dragon's Prison? And that just goes to what does your locals play and what do you usually face against and what is the really thing that you want to counter. What I'm saying is, instead of using this $45 that you have of buying Lost Winds, no materials, Forbidden Chalices, you can borrow your Warning Points with no problem, but adjust the rest of your deck so your budget has the most significant impact on the deck, and you still play a functional competitive deck with no problem. The second question that you have to answer is I can replace fully the effect of a card. We have seen that with Warning Point you can. If you are going second, you can no material your opponent, and if you are going first, you can Lost Win your opponent. So okay, you can copy or try to copy the Warning Points, and up to you if you want to buy the Warning Point or not. But what about Forbidden Droplet? Can you fully copy the effect of Forbidden Droplet? Of course not. There's no card in the game that you can buy under the budget that you have that says negate the effects of monster effect monsters that your opponent controls, and also cannot be countered by the cards you discard. There's nothing as Forbidden Droplet. Even if it were something as Forbidden Droplet, you wouldn't be able to afford it, as you saw on the clip, because it would be basically the same thing. What's the case here? You asked the first question again, do I really need the Forbidden Droplet? If your answer is no, then don't buy the Forbidden Droplet, play something else. Play counterintuitive, so Forbidden Droplet stops after the things happen. Well, play to stop the things before they happen. Play Baylor, play Ash, play Nibiru. Those are a little bit less expensive than Forbidden Droplet. But if you really need the Forbidden Droplet, then do the same as with the Warning Point. How can I reduce cost of my deck? Can I buy something else? Can I play it differently so I can adjust my budget? Because there's no way that you can copy Forbidden Droplet like at all. No way. You can try playing Forbidden Chalice and bait out one negation, but there's nothing that compares to Forbidden Droplet. So if you really want to play Forbidden Droplet, play Forbidden Droplet. If you really want it and you think that your deck cannot function without the Forbidden Droplet, then do it. But adjust the rest of your deck to play something not as expensive as Forbidden Droplet and to still function. And finally, we have the third case of cards that you can't copy like at all. At least with Forbidden Droplet, you can play Forbidden Chalice and maybe call it a day. I don't know. But for things like 3 Tactical Talents or Pot of Extravagance, there's no way that you can copy this one-to-one. There's nothing like them. 3 Tactical Talents take control of one monster your opponent controls. Okay, play Mind Control. Yeah, sure. But I also can draw 2 cards. Okay, play Ball of Desires. Okay, but I also can discard 1 card from my opponent's hand. Play Mind Crush, of course. Yes, that's 9 cards. That's 9 trash cards that you may not want to play. There is nothing that you can play that gives you the same as 3 Tactical Talents. And as such, there's nothing that can give you the same advantage as Pot of Extravagance on a budget level. Why? Because Pot of Extravagance it's generic. You can play Desires, yes, but usually you play Extravagance if you don't want to banish your motor pieces from the main deck. So you cannot play Desires instead of Extravagance because Desires vanishes from the main deck. So what gives? So what can you do in the case of these 2 cards? That you cannot copy the effect of this like at all. then that depends on the build of your deck. Obviously, do the same questions as before. Do you really need it? If so, how can you play your deck to buy this and still be under your budget? But if you can play some alternatives, that depends on the deck that you're playing. And as such, you have to think carefully on how you're going to replace them if you really want to play them, but you cannot afford them and you can replace them. For example, let's say I play Extravagance on my Unchained build. Okay, that's fine, I cannot afford Extravagance on real life. What shall I do? Let's think for a second. Most of our Unchained monsters, at least 3 of them, are Dark type. I can play a Lure of Darkness maybe. Okay, yeah, great, but then what? Because you are playing a lot of hand traps and a lot of other monsters that are not dark. So I can maybe adjust my build to play more dark monsters, and instead of playing hand traps, play Caius that are dark attribute and play some dark attribute hand traps or play some dark attribute extenders, whatever. The point is that depending on what are you planning to build, think carefully if the expensive cards are necessary first, can you copy them second, and how can you adjust if you can't copy them but you cannot afford them. If they're necessary, then how can you adjust your deck? That's the main question. That's the question that you have to make to be sure to be playing on a budget. And remember, yes, Yu-Gi-Oh is an expensive obsession, probably, if you want to call it like that, but it's also a game of strategy, and the first part of the strategy is thinking on how do you invest your money and what do you do with it. So before anything else, think carefully if you really need the playset of a $90 card. But I'm not very good at doing this because I'm not very good at building points in English, so I'm going to finish the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Follow me on my social media, links in the description. Also check out other amazing content creators. Subscribe if you aren't subscribed, and if you do, leave a like and give a comment of if you like this type of videos and what other categories of Yu-Gi-Oh do you want to discuss. Thank you very much for watching, and we see on the next video. Hasta la vista.